Welcome to the Crash the Pond podcast. We are back. It is a Monday, February 14th edition of the pod. It is a Valentine's Day edition of the podcast. Jake, I get a layup this time around. I don't have to make up a holiday, I don't have to research a holiday, as our little bit to open the segment here. So happy Valentine's Day, Jake. How have you spent your day of love?
Very lovely. Roses are red, violets are blue. The Ducks lost to the Kraken, but we love you.
How long have you been sitting on that?
I legitimately came up with that a second ago.
There's no way. I don't believe that.
100%. Just came to me. Legit.
Okay.
Did not think about that beforehand, you know? Sometimes things just come to you.
Okay. Wow. I'm almost I'm so shell-shocked I almost don't know what to say. Of course that's not true. I have things to say. Here's what I will say. I just want to give a shout out to Jake because, he wanted to make some plans tonight for Valentine's Day in his own personal life. And I told him I couldn't do it. And he said, okay, fine, we'll make it work Monday night. So appreciate you, Jake. This is my appreciation to you. My Valentine's Day gift to you.
Oh, wow. Thank you. I'll tell Monica that. Don't worry.
Hopefully that helps ease the tensions there.
There is absolutely no tension.
Okay. Well, so we've got plenty to discuss today. We've got some trades to talk about. Don't involve the Ducks, but they just might. We don't know yet. And we've got some comments from Dallas Eakins. We've got a game last Friday to talk about. And then, of course, your questions at the end of the show. So I think we've got more than enough here, Jake, to get a show out of this. I think we've done more with less. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, 100%. We've got plenty.
Okay, so I want to start here. Maybe I'm a little biased. Actually, I'm 100% biased, but let's start here. Tyler Toffoli traded today. Montreal Canadiens traded him to the Calgary Flames. And the return here is, I think, could be relevant for the Anaheim Ducks. They get a first-round pick, fifth-round pick, a prospect, and a throw-in player. And so I guess the question is now, that's the return on a guy in Tyler Toffoli, who's an excellent winger, who's got 2 years left on his deal. How does that affect, in your mind, the potential price tag, the potential return on one Rickard Rakell, who is a rental?
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest question here. It's tough, right? Because you're comparing a guy with term to a guy that doesn't. Tyler Toffoli, I believe, has 2 years left on his contract after this one, so the Calgary Flames are getting some cost certainty there. They're getting a guy that's locked up, whereas a team trading for Rickard Rakell is essentially getting him for this stretch run. So while it's not a complete comparison, I think that you can at least figure out in some ways what the market is going to be at. If Tyler Toffoli got a first, a fifth, from what I could tell, Emil Heineman is a pretty good prospect. Not like your top tier, top level, but kind of someone that could become a bottom tier NHLer. Someone probably along the lines of like a Bo Grew, if we had to make a comparison to the Ducks prospect group.
Yeah. So the thing with Heineman, I think, is he's a floor type of prospect.
Yeah.
So like maybe Grew is the correct comp there.
Yeah. And so if that's what Toffoli was able to get, you would think that kind of Rickard Rakell, especially if the Ducks retain salary, I think the Ducks could easily get a first for him. And I think that's kind of what this tells me. And that's kind of where I was at coming into all this. Funny enough, looking at the Tyler Toffoli trade when he was traded to the Canucks, when he got a second and a very good prospect. And so the Ducks could probably either look at getting a second and a very good prospect or get a first. And so they have a couple of different routes to go here. I think at the end of the day, this does set the market in some fashion for the Ducks. Because it's not a complete comparable, it's not a complete market-setting deal, but it does kind of start setting the price for wingers in this trade deadline.
Yeah, so I think in a weird way, doesn't this feel almost kind of like a light return for a guy that has 2 years left at a very team-friendly deal? I would say a team-friendly deal.
No, I think the main reason is age. I think it's funny because term can be one of two things, right? Term can either be a good thing or a bad thing, depending. And it's kind of like a beauty in the eye of the beholder. And
I don't think that the term is a negative value for the Calgary Flames, though, because I think that they actually benefit from the certainty a little bit when you consider that they're going to lose certain pieces of their core this offseason.
Yep.
I mean, they might lose Johnny Gaudreau. So having Toffoli in the fold at a good price for 2 more years, I don't know if that's a negative to them.
It depends on how they view aging curves. It depends on a lot of things. So we don't necessarily know that, but I think that you're probably in the right there. I think the fact that they were able to get a first and a good prospect and a 5th round pick for a guy that is going to be 30 is a really good return for the Montreal Canadiens. And I think that that is about like a first round pick is what I would have expected for Rickard Rakell. And that's kind of where this looks like it's trending.
Yeah, I think that that's fair. I thought that they might have been able to get more, but supposedly they really think highly of Heineman. And so maybe that's why this might look weird to us, but looks great to them type thing.
I mean, that's kind of like the whole Jack Eichel trade all over again,
right? It's Alex Tuck.
Yeah. Well, it's Alex Tuck. It's Alex Tuck and Peyton Krebs.
Right. Exactly.
The Buffalo Sabres really value Peyton Krebs. They viewed him in a similar category to a Trevor Zegras, to a Jamie Drysdale. And even though both you and I look at that and kind of really question that decision making and that scouting, at the end of the day, value is basically where that team sets it at. And if that's what they value, that's what they value. And it's really tough to kind of work your way around that. I think picks are sometimes easier to value because a pick's a pick. Like it's kind of a preset value determination. And so that's the question mark here. But I think at the end of the day, Toffoli getting this is good news for Ducks fans because it shows that he should be able to get a first round pick.
Yeah, so again, I think it's very difficult to draw comparisons between these two cases because, again, like we've been saying over and over, Toffoli has the term, Raquel does not. But we expected before this trade went down that the average return on a rental winger of Raquel's ilk is a first-round pick, and this trade just doesn't seem to get us off that ledge. Exactly. If the return had been lower, then I think that's where maybe you start asking questions.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of where I go on this, is that if Toffoli had gotten a first and that was it, then, oh boy, the Ducks are in for a rough one.
But even then, you could make the argument that, well, the term might be a negative value on Toffoli.
Yeah.
But I see what you're saying. I mean, I think it's a fair thought, though.
Yeah. And so I think Rickard Rakell, I think he either gets you a first or a really good prospect, and you're going to have to pick between the two. And
you don't think it's both anymore?
I never thought it was really.
I think you thought he could get a first and like a middling prospect.
Yeah, or a second and a good prospect.
Okay.
I think there is the potential, and I mean, screw it, why not? Let's just get into fun trade rumor category.
Oh boy, here we go.
And just because I've been trying to will this trade into existence, I guess, for a year now, Rickard Rakell at half retained for Nick Ritchie and Nick Robertson.
Well, okay, so Nick Ritchie was just on waivers and cleared.
Correct.
I think
they're trying to get his salary out of there. So it's a negative value deal to them at this point. They're trying to do whatever they can to get rid of Nick Ritchie's deal.
Okay. So Nick Ritchie isn't having that great of a season.
No, he is not.
He's not. But
this is not me trying to get Nick Ritchie because I think he's underrated. This is me essentially taking a salary dump back to increase the return. Because not only are the Ducks going to be retaining salary, they're also going to be taking money back to make it work. And Ritchie, I think, has an extra year on his deal. The Ducks, cap-wise, aren't going to be in any issues next year. Yeah, he signed at 1.375. So essentially, if you retain half of Raquel's deal, it almost essentially wipes out Nick Ritchie's contract. So it's essentially a like-for-like contract swap in terms of cap hit this season.
Yeah. So I think that the big takeaway from the Toffoli trade is that it's good news for the Ducks. All in all.
Yes.
All in all, I think it's good news. Yep. Or at least it's just not bad news.
Yeah. No thoughts on my potential trade?
Well, I guess I've just heard it. I've heard you say it so many times that my reaction is. I
added the new wrinkle this time though of the taking on us. Well, not only the retention, but taking a salary back to make it work even easier. To get more value back in addition to the retaining of the salary.
I think you really like Robertson.
Oh, I do.
Yeah, I don't really have an opinion on him, not because I think he's good or bad, just because I haven't really spent a ton of time like researching him, but I will take your word for it. I mean, if the Ducks got out with that, I think that the positive is that you have a guy in Nick Ritchie. I'm going in Ritchie first just to get him out of the way. Who I mean is an upgrade right now in your bottom six, and he's not old. And then with Robertson, a prospect who's basically NHL ready.
Yeah.
So, and who can be a contributor, as opposed to a first round pick in the 20s plus a guy who might never play. So, I think it's a fine return.
Yep.
Do the Leafs do that deal though?
I mean, supposedly they're trying to get creative to get rid of Nick Ritchie, is what the reports from Friedman are saying.
Oh, that's not gonna help our case, Jake, for being pro Ritchie.
No.
Is that a team is actively trying to get creative to get rid of him?
At this point, I'm not necessarily even trying to be on the stand Nick Ritchie wagon. This is me understanding that he has negative value and taking advantage of it.
Right, exactly. And so, I mean, the funny thing is that I think that if you come out of this with Ritchie and Robertson and that they're both what you expect them to be going into next season, I mean, you could make the case that the Ducks are a better team because Robertson's going to get better. And if Ritchie just kind of stays who he is, as much as I know that you like Rickard Rakell and that a lot of our listeners do, I think he's kind of, I don't want to say he's past his prime. I think he's kind of in it, but he's just a bit of a flawed player, and he's not a guy that you really want to rely upon like the Ducks do. And this is something we'll talk about later in the show.
Yeah, and to be honest with Rickard Rakell, and I've mentioned this a bunch here, I mean, I think he's a really good guy. I think you've seen him grow up. You've seen him
loves dogs.
Go from being a young guy on this team, kind of essentially, I can remember watching him making his first couple games in the or playing his first couple games for the Ducks, and to now being essentially going into his UFA status. And I think for his own purpose, I would love to see him get dealt for his own sake. Give him, put him on a team where he can play with Austin Matthews and put up all the points. Because at the end of the day, I think there was a really good article. I think it was Jack Frazier put it out, JFresh, on Elite Prospects last year. Kind of dialing in on Rickard Rakell and looking at kind of what's gone on with him and kind of breaking it down to the fact of he's someone that really requires someone to feed him the puck. He's not necessarily someone that can go and get his own shot and create his own chances for himself. That's not necessarily his game. I feel like it may have been at one point in time, but it's kind of gone away. And that's why his greatest years came when Ryan Getzlaf were feeding him the puck.
Well,
and
yes.
Having Ryan Getzlaf helps, but you also have to be able to have a good enough shot to take advantage of it. And I think that's what he did. And so I think that if you put him on a team with higher level talent, whether that be the Toronto Maple Leafs, whether that be maybe like the Florida Panthers, whether that be even the Calgary Flames, I think he's a guy that can really take advantage of those roles with better players and really finish the puck. And I think at the end of the day, he's going to benefit from that by getting a better deal for his long-term setup.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I think that back in those days where he was scoring at a higher rate, he was also just a better all-around player. Yeah. He was a better play driver. Like now he's a negative value defensively, whereas back then much more of a two-way force, which is really important when you're trying to score. He was also scoring at a much higher rate, just shooting percentage-wise. And I really have now come to the conclusion that those couple years really kind of, I think, warped the perception of Rickard Rakell. Like, he's a great player. I think he's really skilled, but like you said, he's not a go-to guy. He's a guy that if you put him in the right situation can thrive. Yep. And I think that, and again, just to your point, we want to see him in that. I don't think the Ducks are that for him. I think as good and as talented as Trevor Zegras is right now, I don't know if he's quite at that step in his career where he can just carry a winger like Rickard Rakell and get him those goals. So,
yeah, exactly.
Hopefully we're not breaking too many Rickard Rakell fan hearts.
Sorry, Bonnie.
But yeah, we're trying. We're trying our best here. But yeah, so then outside of that, I mean, anything else on the Toffoli trade? Anything else on the trade market?
I mean, I'm really curious to see kind of what happens. It seems like there's been a lot of rumors picking up, first off, about Ben Sherratt. And I feel like that's going to be a very interesting deal to see what happens, because if he's able to get a first-round pick, then Manson gets more than that, definitely. Mainly due to the fact of Manson is right-handed shot versus Sherratt being left-handed shot. Is Manson? I think he's younger than Sherratt, maybe. But I feel like he just reputation.
Yeah, he is.
I think reputation-wise, he has a little bit of a better reputation than Sherratt does. And so I think that basically whatever Sherratt gets, Manson's going to be able to get more than that for the Ducks. And so I think that's a fascinating one. And I also think John Klingberg is another one. Austin Price brings up a good point, though. How long is Manson going to be out for? Do you think the Manson injury makes it so that they can't trade him right now?
So I have this theory right now on injuries. Do you want to hear my theory?
I know what you're going to say. Go for it.
I think that the injuries right now are strategically, guys are being strategically kept out. right? I mean, I think reportedly that's what the Canadians are doing with Ben Sherratt, right? He got hurt over the weekend, but the reporting is that if there were a playoff game tomorrow, he would play. And I think with Josh Manson, maybe it's not quite to that level. Maybe he legitimately is hurt, and maybe the Ducks aren't fully decided that they're moving on from him like the Canadians are with Sherratt. But I think that they are keeping the long game in mind with that, and they're not rushing him.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, for Manson, it's a finger injury, right?
Because if it's a finger in the playoffs, guys play through much worse all the time.
Guys play with broken fingers. They tape them together. That's just kind of what happens. So I think if a team were looking at Manson, they would trade for him right now, regardless of if he's injured or not, because it's a finger injury, right?
Right.
I do think, though, that I don't know if I necessarily agree with the holding him out for this distinct purpose.
No. Like, I'm not saying that they're keeping him out just for this. Like, I think they would rather have him play. Mm-hmm. I think that it's better for everyone if he's playing hockey. But I also think that when they're injured, when there's a possibility of re-injury, that they are erring on the side of caution. Yeah. I don't want anyone to misinterpret what I'm saying as they're holding him out when he's not actually hurt. I think he's legitimately hurt, and I feel like we're talking about Mark Stone right now. But I think the Ducks are just playing it smart. They're playing it safe.
100%.
Which is what I would do too. Like it's why would you risk him getting seriously hurt when you have the potential of getting back a solid trade return?
Yep, exactly. So I think, kind of getting back to your original question here, which was any other trade thoughts, things like that. It sounds like there's a lot of teams that are kind of starting to get things moving. It almost feels like mid-February, people feel like it's trade deadline time, so they're starting to get things going instead of it being, because what is it? It's March 21st this year, when usually it is like in a week or two. Yeah. And so it seems like teams are starting to kind of get that rolling now. So I'm curious to see where these bigger pieces go. And I'm actually kind of hoping that they get dealt earlier than later, so that come deadline time, it kind of makes the Ducks this bigger fish, essentially, from the seller's market perspective.
Right. And I think one other kind of interesting tidbit with the Canadians trade is just that there was, I think Elliot Friedman mentioned this on 32 Thoughts, that at one point Ben Sherratt may have also been included in that deal, that it could have been both guys, both of their big fish. And so I'm curious if maybe the Ducks would try something like that. And I know it's something you've talked about before.
They should.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, depending on the team, but they should try to do it if a team wants it, because then you can maximize the return.
Right. Exactly. So a lot still left to be decided there.
Yeah.
But the first shoe has dropped, you could say. Although I don't know if anyone really expected Tyler Toffoli to get traded when the season started. No.
And maybe one other thing, I guess. I'm trying to think if this came out, but I don't think that this came out after our last podcast. The Pat Verbeek comments, essentially stating that he's going to kind of try to reassess some things, see where the team's at, talk to the agents, and he's basically like, if they're not signed, though, they're moved. And he's like, I'm not...
Did he say that?
Yes.
Did he say that, though? Okay.
All right, I'm going to find the quote now. You go on, though.
Yeah. Well, my takeaway from those Pat Verbeek comments was more so that he is just very non-committal.
Yes.
And that's, I think, the takeaway is just that he isn't fully committed / bought in to anything right now with the Ducks. Like, he didn't say, no, we're not moving this guy, or no, we're absolutely moving this guy. Like, I think it was just a very neutral tone, which is probably what he should have right now. Why would he come in and just immediately draw a line in the sand? So I think it's kind of wise of him to do that.
Yep. Let me see. Let's see. Where is this quote at? Why is OC Register like this? Is it going to let me do it? I am really fumbling right now. Go on, Felix, though.
I'm about to sneeze, so this is not really working.
There we go. There we go. Found it. You're going to have to deal with free agents one way or another. This is from Pat Verbeek, referring to pending unrestricted free agents such as Hampus Lindholm, Josh Manson, and Rickard Rakell. Either make the decisions to sign them, or I don't want anyone walking out the door for nothing.
Well, there you go.
So that wasn't a non-committal statement. That was a straight up, they're either getting signed or I'm moving them.
Yeah, I guess maybe my thought on the non-committal may have come from the comments on Eakins.
Yeah.
Which I found to be kind of fascinating, because he said something to the effect of, we're all professionals here. Dallas understands the situation like I do.
Do you want that full quote right now while I have it open?
Let's give it so we're not misrepresenting anyone.
I'm just reevaluating the whole thing. Verbeek said of Eakins and the coaching staff. Those decisions will be made when the season's over. There's lots of time for that. I've got more pressing needs. We all have a job to do. Dallas is a professional. He'll do his job. I'm not worried about that. And then added, we'll sit down and talk at some point. And
yeah, so not a ringing endorsement, I would say. Just kind of a we'll get there.
Yep. And I
should just quickly say that we shouldn't take too much away from these comments. Like, they are just kind of filler for the most part.
And he had a very similar thing about all the AGMs. They're all doing what they've been doing in the past. I'll assess that part too, and we'll have to see how this all turns out.
Yep. So on that note, I think that do you want to get into the game that we saw last Friday, or do you want to talk about some comments from Dallas Eakins today?
This is a Felix.
We have a break coming up in a few minutes, so choose wisely.
I'll let you pick whichever one you want. Your choice.
Okay. Well, I've got a bone to pick. I've got a bit of an issue here. Dallas Eakins today spoke after practice to the media, and I think made some very fair comments, right? That for the Ducks to, in the stretch that they're coming up in, right, where they're playing a lot of divisional opponents, they're going to have to play better in all facets of the game. And this is what he said: goaltending, penalty killing, power play. He did, however, stress the fact that they're going to need scoring from all of their lines, but especially the lines that they expect scoring from, which hearing something like that, it just gives me flashbacks to Bob Murray blaming the veteran forwards every offseason.
Blaming Getzlaf and Perry, even though they were all over a point per game in the playoffs.
Right, exactly. And so, this is what he said. I don't want to misquote him, but he said, we have to be on top of everything. We're going to have great goaltending. We're going to have some defensemen really step up. We're going to have to get scoring from all of our lines, but especially from the ones we expect it from. We're going to have to stay out of the penalty box. We're going to have to continue to score on our power play. It's like, okay, I guess they're just going to have to be perfect. We've been trying to check as many boxes as we can, but the margin for error is very, very low right now. And I thought that what was interesting, and that actually wasn't quoted in this article from Elliot Tieford, but that we got word of in the video that the Ducks posted, is he talked about how the Ducks don't have the depth right now where they're at in their rebuild to afford a slip, to afford, to have maybe a bigger margin for error. And this is going to tie into what we're going to talk about with the game against the Kraken and some of the data that you've compiled. But it's that, yes, I think Dallas Eakins isn't wrong here. The Anaheim Ducks have to play better in all areas of the game for them to make the playoffs. Like they haven't been playing well really since Christmas. That being said, though, a lot of these wounds are self-inflicted. Yes, they don't have the depth, but Dallas Eakins isn't doing them any favors by essentially choosing to have 2 fourth lines, and also by playing those lines, particularly the Grant, Lundestrom, Silfverberg line, more than his line in Zegras, Milano, Raquel, like we saw on Friday against Seattle. So it's a bit of two sides of the coin, right? On one hand, yes, he's right. They don't have this huge margin for error. They need to be better, but also noteworthy that he didn't mention that coaching has to be better. And I feel like, especially on Friday, and we'll get into this more, but I think that was a coaching loss. I think that coaching is a huge detriment right now for this team. Tell me I'm wrong.
No, you're not. You're not at all. And okay. So, here's the thing. The Seattle game's a weird one where overall the Grant, Lundestrom, Silfverberg line, that was probably one of the best games they've had in a long time from a 5-on-5 perspective, from a
which is kind of ironic because we're
hard. No, I know. So it's important to kind of point that out here, right? That they were actually good, and so it's important to give them credit if we're going to harp on them so much. But I think if you're gonna gripe about the depth of this team on one hand, and then on the other hand, go out and play your third line, which third lines are depth lines. More minutes than one of your best, essentially one of your best offensive lines in Zegras, Milano, Raquel. Almost said Steele instead of Raquel. That is not, But you can't have it both ways. if you're gonna gripe about the depth of your team and say it's not deep enough, then you should be playing your top players more. Like, it's very hypocritical, that statement, in comparison to actually what he's doing on the ice. And
well, there's also
let me just step in here real quick. I think that, well, no,
I haven't even said anything, but okay,
you were about to.
Yes,
but I think it's him almost in some ways being beholden to these line role situations that he kind of does, where the third line has to be his matchup line that goes up against the other team defensively. And so even if the depth isn't there, he's still going to put them out there in those situations because that's what he thinks he has to do. Instead of understanding, hey, I'm just saying my depth's not good. Why am I doing this then? And I feel like there's that disconnect there that really is hampering this team.
I agree. And I think another layer to this, with Eakins kind of talking about how they need more scoring and they need it from the guys they expect it from. Max Comtois didn't play on Friday.
Good point.
And he wasn't hurt, to our knowledge, to the public knowledge. He wasn't unable to play. He wasn't in COVID protocol. He was scratched, healthy scratched. And why was that exactly? I mean, again, this is the line that's been parroted by the media and by the broadcasts, is that they want more out of him, that he's got to bring more in all three zones. And it's just like,
the funny thing is,
man, did you guys not watch Max Comtois play last year? Because he's actually been better. Like, statistically, Max Comtois has been better this year defensively than he was last year. But, and we've said this so many times in the show, because the puck isn't going in for as much, it just colors the rest of the evaluation when it comes to him, despite the fact that, by and large, and I've had some issues with him, but by and large, he's been a better player this season, a more complete player.
Yeah, he's definitely still a flawed player. And yeah, I think
he's far less flawed this season.
Yeah,
far less.
He's made a big step defensively. Offensively, actually, from both production, obviously, and a on-ice impact perspective with generating his individual expected goals, there has been a fall-off for him slightly, but we're talking about going from 0.8 to 0.6 individual expected goals per 60, so a 0.2 drop-off, which isn't nothing.
Not insignificant.
Yeah. Not insignificant, and I think that was per Micah McCurdy's model. It's not insignificant, but I would take that with an improvement defensively. And
he's actually a more valuable player now because he's not taking as much value off defensively.
Well, and here's the thing. That accounts, I think, over the minutes that he's played, that 0.8 to 0.6 equates to about 4.3 expected goals versus 0.3 or 3.8-ish, something around there. So We're talking about nearly about half an expected goal difference. That's not the equivalent of, like, what people think it is, where he would be a 10 to 15 goal scorer right now if everything was going in. It's kind of sadly exactly like what we talked about with Rickard Rakell, where these unsustainably high shooting percentages are making people think that these guys are elite goal scorers, when in reality, no one ever is going to be shooting 20 to 25%. That's just not the reality of the situation. Even one of the highest shooting percentage players in the history of the game, Steven Stamkos, he's at like 17%. And that's one of the most lethal shooters in NHL history, basically, or modern day history, I should say. And so Max Comtois just isn't going to be up there. That's not realistically who he is. Like, if he was Steven Stamkos, I would be thrilled, but he's not. And he shot 17% last year. That's just not where he's going to be.
I think this is a moment where we have to give Jake his flowers, because you were saying these same things last season as he was scoring. You know, saying that this might not be sustainable.
Yeah. I even thought that maybe you should trade him in the summer while his value was high.
Well, now where do you think his value is at trade-wise?
Very low.
It's not as high.
No.
That's for sure.
No. So it's just one of those things where the perspective of a lot of people, and I think that's what we try to do the most here, and that's, I think, one of the things I try to do a lot, and I know you do, is almost set proper expectations so people can understand if this is actually who this player is, versus just almost in some ways buying into the hype of what essentially the way he's talked about. And I think that's a very critical thing that we try to do here. So
yeah, our goal is to help our listeners see the game for what is actually happening and what will likely happen after, as opposed to just writing the narratives, writing whatever is being said at that particular time, being less of a prisoner of the moment. That's what we're trying to do.
Getting back to the original point of this, Dallas Eakins leaving offense off the board, and so even though while we're saying this, Max Comtois isn't as offensively talented as a lot of people thought due to last season,
I think he's better than Derek Grant.
Yes,
just gonna put that out there.
And I think he's better than Nick Delorier. I don't think those are controversial opinions either. And
I sure hope not.
And I don't think this is a situation where people can say, well, it's a third line role, it's a fourth line role, what's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. Max Comtois has been fine defensively. Like, give me the guy that has offensive talent in those 10 to 15 minutes over the guy that doesn't any time of day. And it's not only that, but it's also the fact that Nick Delorier and Derek Grant they're just negative value players. And Max Comtois isn't that.
Well, I mean, look at how Dallas Eakins managed his game on Friday. And again, trying not to dive too much into it so we can have something to talk about post-break. But, right, the Zegras line gets scored against twice in the first period. And that completely alters how he deploys them the rest of the game.
We should be honest here, right? Because people might call us out on this. That line did not look good on the second goal. Like,
no.
Rickard Rakell and Trevor Zegras both got beat. But it happens.
But the thing is, as a coach, you have to be able to collect yourself and say, okay, that was bad, but let me recall the bigger picture with this line and how good they've been.
And understand that it's the first period of a game.
Exactly. Like, it's a small sample within a small sample within a small sample.
And like these are one of your most this is one of your most lethal offensive lines. And in order to get back into this game, you're gonna need them to get going.
Exactly. So it's like, as an offensively challenged team, as a team that doesn't have a big margin for error, as a team that doesn't quite yet have the depth where they're at in the rebuild, just quoting Dallas Eakins here, it doesn't really make a ton of sense to stop playing your best offensive line because of 2 goals against in the first period, right? Mm-hmm. Especially when the alternative is a line in Delorier, Silverberg, Lundestrom that just bleeds offense against. So I just, listening to Dallas Eakins, it's this weird dichotomy where on one hand, some things he's saying, a lot of things he's saying make sense. Everyone agrees the Ducks need to be better, but on the other hand, maybe he's just not saying it, probably just isn't saying it, but it just feels like he doesn't seem to understand or acknowledge his role in all of this and how he is really hampering this team's chances of winning these games. Look, we're under no illusions. The Ducks right now, per Money Puck, are at about 30% chance of making the playoffs. Like, their playoff hopes are dwindling.
Mm-hmm.
And
they've fallen out of the playoff position from points percentage perspective.
And the Pacific Division is only getting tougher, right? Tyler Toffoli entered the chat. Jack Eichel is going to be playing on Wednesday against the Colorado Avalanche. Like, this is only going to be a tougher hill to climb. And so when you're a team like the Ducks, you really can't get these things wrong because you basically don't have a chance if you do.
Well, I think it's just a very easy thing. It's an easy thing to pick up. Optimizing your lineup. It's what you should be doing. It's what you can only do so much with the roster you have, so you need to get the most out of them. And that's what a good coach has to do.
And I think that we are not proposing like this radical adjustment, because of course I think people are curious. Okay, well, so you've told me what's wrong. Now, how do you make it right? And so what I would say is, first off, just play your best players the majority of the game. It's actually quite simple. Instead of trying to have this egalitarian environment where you have your 4 lines playing one as much as the other, or playing your third line more than the others, just play your best players. Play the guys that are going to get you goals. Goals are what win games, unless I'm missing something here. If you look at, allow me this moment, but since Marty St. Louis has become the coach for the Canadiens, he's done some things that I'm a fan of, right? And one of them is on the power play, where he basically just plays the first unit the entire 2 minutes, right? Because I think he understands, okay, these are the guys who give me the best chance. I don't need to play games and I don't need to give participation trophies. And I think that that's what Dallas Eakins could learn from. Just play your best guys. Like, it's obvious who the best guys are.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I'm done. I'm done.
I let you have it. All right. We'll get into more of this, though, as we kind of jump into the Kraken game, even though we've already talked about it a little bit. But, it's time for a word from our sponsor. So, roses are red, violets are blue. Don't let a wild pube wreck you. Valentine's Day is just around the corner, and our sponsors at Manscaped are here for you with the best tools to get your balls ready for the special occasion, which is tonight. If you're listening and watching us live, this Valentine's Day, it's time to join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped, the leaders in men's below the waist grooming. With our exclusive offer, go to manscaped.com and use code CTP for 20% off plus free shipping. So the holidays went by so quickly. Did you remember to take care of your package with the best tools for the job? The Performance Package 4.0 from Manscaped is just the thing every guy needs in their life. The number one product in this package is the Lawnmower 4.0. This electric trimmer is designed to trim hair on loose skin, and get this, the trimmer's advanced skin-safe technology reduces cuts and nicks on your delicate balls. It even has 4000K LED spotlights, so you can shave anywhere your heart desires. So, Felix, tell us a little bit about the Weed Whacker, though.
Yeah, so this package also includes the Weed Whacker. It's a nose and ear hair trimmer to whack all the worst of your weeds. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts, their Shed travel bag and anti-shaving boxer briefs to keep your boys stored comfortably. Jake, the Weed Whacker, it's not so much as a big of a deal for me, although I highly value it. But I think for you, some nose hairs, maybe some ear hairs.
No ear hair.
It's the way to go.
No ear hair, just nose hair.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Didn't mean to do that.
Just putting that on me. So to complete the perfect package for your package are liquid formulations like Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and Crop Reviver Ball Toner. Start your day off with the deodorant for your boys, then stay cool all day with toner to keep you feeling your best all day and night. These formulations will also have your balls smelling like a king on the big day. And don't forget to smell good not only around your balls but all over. Made with their signature scent, the Manscaped Refined Cologne will complement your collection with smell perfection. And Manscaped created their product for a night just like this. Yes, tonight, Valentine's Day. And we'll make your Valentine's Day date. And hopefully, for those of you that use Manscaped and have used our promo code and had the date last night, if you're listening to this after Valentine's Day, they say, wow, great set of balls you have there. So you can go to manscaped.com for our exclusive offer of 20% off and free shipping with the code CTP. That's get 20% off and free shipping with the code CTP at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code CTP. Join Cupid and shoot your arrow with Manscaped this Valentine's Day. I hope everyone had a great Valentine's Day. If you're listening to us tomorrow as compared to today, I hope everyone tonight listening live has had a great Valentine's Day and is enjoying it.
That just broke me.
There you go.
That just shattered me. Well, yeah, I will say this. If you had a great Valentine's Day experience and you used a Manscaped product thanks to our code, let us know. Tweet at us. I want to hear this. I want to hear the feedback.
Okay.
All right.
Moving on. Just tag Felix. No need to tag me.
Wow. Tag at Crash the Pond. This is a team effort.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. CJ needs to see it.
Let's talk about the hockey game at Honda Center that happened on Friday. So the Ducks lose to the Seattle Kraken, and can we just say the Kraken aren't good, right? We agree with this? We agree with the point?
I don't know.
Like they're a perfectly mediocre team.
Yeah, I think that's fair. They're a perfectly mediocre team that also has had horrible goaltending for most of the year, and that's been something.
Yeah, like they're not as bad as I'm portraying them here.
Yeah,
but they are not.
They're basically where the Ducks are from an expected goals for percentage perspective.
Right, but just minus that talent up front.
Minus the talent up front, and also awful goaltending for the most part.
Right. So I thought that the Ducks should have won this game.
Oh, they 100% should have. So expected goals throughout the game were 3.21 at 5-on-5 to 1.4. Mm-hmm. Like, this was the Ducks' game to lose.
Right, exactly. And I think that, it started off on the wrong foot, sorry, right away, because Max Comtois getting scratched, for kind of unknown reasons. And with the Ducks, I think that, at one point they're leading 3-2 in the second period. Rickard Rakell gets on the board, and then they give up 2 unanswered goals, and that's the game. And really from the third period and maybe even within the second period onward, it just felt like the Ducks kind of stopped playing. Like they just flatlined. And this is something that we've seen them do in these games where they're leading or where it's a close game. They just kind of stop attacking. They stop playing that up-tempo style that does make them successful when they are rolling. And I just think that how long can this keep up where Dallas Eakins has the Ducks playing this way, playing not to lose, before they just bow out of the playoffs on their own?
Yeah.
Because they're good at getting into the game and getting a lead. It's just that their strategy once they get there, and we've talked about on this show before, don't get me wrong, I'm sorry if we sound like broken records right now, but this is really, again, the influence of coaching. It's really hard to win when you invite the other team back into the game.
Yep, and you can see up on the screen now is the expected goal kind of running totals for both the Ducks in blue and Seattle in orange from Evolving Hockey. And you can kind of see the third period is kind of this dashed line right here. And you can see the amount of expected goals the Ducks generated in that third period in comparison to the rest of the game is significantly lower. And this is kind of what we talk about in such a... it can really kind of show exactly what we talk about when we say they flatline, is that you look at the amount of chances, the quality of chances, the number of shots, everything like that. I mean, even from scrolling up to just Corsi 4, you can see from a pure shot attempt perspective, they don't really generate a whole lot. And this is kind of exactly the strategy it seems like Dallas Eakins has with this team, is that especially when this team is tied, it seems like when this team is tied, this really becomes a factor. I guess when they're up also, it becomes a thing. When they're down, he kind of lets guys go, let them try to get chances because you have to. But when they're tied and up, his strategy is to essentially just have the Ducks receive the game and really try to limit. And granted, to be fair, the Ducks didn't allow a whole lot from Seattle in that third period. But this is a strategy that's essentially saying, hey, I don't want to allow many chances against, and I don't want us to get many chances for, because that opens us up. So I don't want to lose this game. I'm not trying to win this game. And right. The issue with that is, at the end of the day, all it takes is one shot to go in against.
One opportunity.
There you go. After yesterday, just throwing that out there. And that's what happened. Seattle ended up getting a chance off a bad breakdown by the Ducks, and it ended up going in the back of the Ducks net, and that's all she wrote. I would much rather take a Ducks team that is wide open in the third period. Maybe they still allow that goal against and don't get the goal for, but at least they're trying to win the game instead of trying not to lose.
Go out swinging.
Yeah.
And you don't have to play this crazy high event style.
No.
You just have to not completely sit back.
Continue to play the way that brought you to this point.
Right.
Like this,
exactly.
The Ducks played a fantastic first two periods. You look at this and you look at the amount of quality of chances that they generated in those first two periods. This was a great game for the Ducks, and it was sullied by Dallas Eakins essentially throwing the reins on everybody. And I mean, it's just, it kind of goes to show that this conversation, I feel like, that happens around Dallas Eakins from time to time, especially when it comes to the Trevor Zegras conversation from a national media of, well, you got to compliment him for allowing him to have this creativity. Right. This kind of goes to show that that's not necessarily the case. It's a very marginal point. It isn't. It's the right take, and it's also not the right take all at the same time.
So I think it's the right take in that if the claim is about he hasn't, prevented him from trying cool moves in games, then it's like, no, he hasn't. But that's the end. That's the end of the conversation.
He also has yet to, and this is kind of where I fall on this a lot, is that my biggest frustration with Dallas Eakins this season, and now granted, to be fair, he's a guy going after or trying to keep his job and get a new contract.
He doesn't know if he'll be back next year. He doesn't even know where he'll be coaching in the NHL next season.
But this is supposedly a season that was about development. And what has he done to try to develop Trevor Zegras?
Well, and here's the thing, Jake. Asking a guy on an expiring deal to be more concerned with development than winning games, kind of conflicting
fair.
Incentives there.
Fair point.
No, but I'm not saying that to push back against you.
No, but it's a fair point.
I think that even though Dallas Eakins would say that, we're trying to teach these guys lessons on the fly in a competitive environment, and they have to earn it. I also think that it's hard when you know in the back of your head that you're trying to win every single game no matter what.
And this is, I guess, maybe some of the issues with having an expiring coach in a rebuilding year.
Here's another kind of subplot from that game, which, by the way, does not take anything away from what we're saying, in my opinion, is that John Gibson did not have a great game.
No, he didn't.
I mean, GSAX-wise, he was at negative 1.82, so he allowed more goals than you would have expected based on the types of shots he faced.
I think one thing is GSAX in this game maybe in some ways shows the flaws with it in that it can't sense pre-shot movement.
Right. That's fair.
And so there were some Royal Road passes, but I still think that first goal, yes, it goes across the Royal Road, but it's going such a far distance that
he also ended up on the ground just out of nowhere.
But he should be able to stop that puck. It's such a bad angle from Donato. The puck's going such a long distance that he should be able to track and move with it and be able to make that save. Now, granted, the other two of the other goals that were the quick cross-ice passes, those are a little bit of a different story. So if you want to nitpick that type of stuff, sure. Maybe he wasn't negative 1.82, but I still think he probably should have maybe only allowed 3 goals instead of 4.
Yeah. I don't think he was horrendous by any means.
No.
I think that he didn't have his best night, but that's not to say that he was the reason they lost either.
One other thing about this game before we move on from it, unless you have anything else you want to talk about. Mm-hmm. Would you like to talk about how everything, I guess, came back to that Delorier fight?
Is it time? Is it time to have this conversation?
Yeah, go for
it. I think I have you speechless.
No, the floor is yours.
Look,
I know you have a lot to say.
I love the ESPN Plus broadcast. I do. I enjoy it. It's a breath of fresh air. It's what hockey needs right now, is just for it to be fun, for it to be laid back. But I'm not going to stop evaluating. I'm not going to stop critiquing despite all of that, right? You don't just get a free pass because you're fun. And the amount of times that they brought up the Delorier fight from the first period onward after it happened, it's like, yeah, I get it. It was a great fight. A lot of punches were thrown. A lot of knuckle to helmet action. I get all of that.
I'm happy you said that because I was about to.
Yeah, like, it was great. It was entertaining. Energy and all that. And then, of course, there was a goal right after. But the amount of times that they brought it up, that they showed highlights of it, it just took away from the game. It really did. And I understand that they're trying to sell a product. I understand that they're going to rope in more casual fans that way. But there is a diminishing return. And I really thought that it took away from the storytelling of the game. And what was the thing that Kevin Weeks kept saying? Was it "oh boy" or "oh no"?
Oh no.
I think it's "oh no."
Yeah.
The "oh no" has got to go. The "no more." I mean, he just.
Oh
yeah,
no.
it was "oh no."
Yeah.
He like just the yelling out "oh no," and then, I thought that Leah Hextall didn't have her best night at the office, so it was just not the best performance from ESPN Plus. But again, I appreciate what they're doing. I still am pro ESPN Plus, pro Weeks, pro Hextall, but it was just not the best night at the office for the crew.
What do you think?
Getting player names wrongs is like a big one for me, and it kept happening. Anyway, I'm done.
What do you think? Sonny Milano made his return to the Ducks lineup. We haven't talked about him yet.
Yeah, so I think that the biggest takeaway from Milano's return is that he returned.
Yeah.
I mean, just the fact that due to the problematic nature of his injury, the unpredictability of concussions, we don't know if he was actually concussed, but we can kind of assume that. Yeah. I think that it's really a huge positive that he was able to come back. And, I don't think he showed a ton. He didn't get to play a whole lot because of Dallas Eakins, but it's a huge positive that he was back in the lineup.
Yep.
Really happy for him.
Yep, same. I mean, you and I have both said this for a bit now. He's one of the Ducks' best forwards. Like, he's been one of their most impactful, one of their best. Like, Trevor Zegras is not where he's at without Sonny Milano.
Well, I think we should even, go further and say he's been one of their best players. Like, just bar none. He's been one of their best guys, and I'm very fascinated to see what they're going to do with him long term. I think that he's worked his way into the core. Like, he is one of the core guys now moving forward. and you got to do whatever you can to hold on to him. I think one thing that we should kind of quickly touch on, I don't know if it's worth talking about a bunch, but the Ducks are missing Josh Manson, and you've got a Mahura-Fowler pairing, which, Mahura looked kind of rough. I mean, there was the goal where I think he turned it over twice.
That goal against is kind of weird because it hit the ref skate.
Okay.
So
free pass.
Well, no, he rims it around the board. He rims it around the board, and it's going to get to Henrique, and it hits the ref skate. It's not a free pass, but it's a situation where it's not necessarily a turnover. It catches a skate, and it's a bounce. It happens.
Yeah, but all things considered,
I agree.
I do also want to say this if we're talking about the blue line, and this is going to shock people. So prepare yourself mentally, maybe a couple breaths, do whatever you've got to do. I thought that was maybe Jamie Drysdale's best game as a Duck.
Yeah,
I thought he was fantastic.
He was.
I mean, the stretch passes, notably. I mean, he was getting to his own blue line and then just hitting guys in stride over and over. And I thought that he wasn't forcing, when he was bringing it up the ice, he wasn't forcing just lugging it all the way down in his zone, ignoring better passing options. He seemed to figure out the balance between when to carry it and when to pass it. And I mean, he led. I mean, the first goal that the Ducks scored, it was his stretch pass that set it up. Now, of course, you would have never known that from the broadcast because they brought it back to the fight instead of the great stretch pass. But I thought that Drysdale had a really good game, and I thought that in that game he kind of showed you what he can be, which is a guy who's going to help you get the puck in your own zone and get it up to the other side of the ice and get guys into scoring positions in a hurry. And that's really exciting if you're a Ducks fan, I think.
Yep, agreed.
So I hope that this gets noted. I hope that people take notice of what I just said. I'm not a hater. I can point out. I can give a man his flowers when need be.
There you go, Lou. Anything else from the game before we move on to questions?
Just fun to see a hockey game again.
Yeah.
I mean, how long was it before, before
11
game?
11 days?
Yeah. So it was a bit of time, and I mean, now they're going to come in fast and furious with all these road games, but it was just fun to have a hockey game.
I actually think there's a pretty big break between games still.
No, they have a back-to-back this week.
They have a back-to-back this week, and then there's a pretty big break.
Oh, LOL.
Yeah. So they don't come that fast and furious. I think they're making up games. Here, let's just very quickly look. Yeah, they play 3 over the next little bit. They have a bunch actually. So yeah, they play Calgary, Edmonton, then in Vancouver.
You're just wrong.
Then 2 days off, and they're San Jose. Okay. Yeah, I was wrong. Fine, I was wrong. All right, want to get some questions?
Yep.
Or anything else? Oh, the only other thing was I compiled some data, just out of curiosity to see kind of where the Ducks sat in terms of expected goals for percentage in the third period, or expected goals for per 60 in the third period, things like that. So after kind of just running a couple numbers, kind of compiling some data from Natural Stat Trick, they sit at about 2.18 expected goals for per 60, and throughout the entirety of games, so including that third period, they are at 2.47 per Natural Stat Trick, or something in that range. So they drop from essentially their overall numbers to the third period from about 2.4 to about 2.2, but that overall number already includes the 2.2. So that kind of goes to show how much they kind of fall off in terms of creating offense in the third period, and how it's kind of a strategic element.
I guess my follow-up to your research would be how much worse or better or whatever, how does that compare to other teams in the league?
That's something I don't know. That's a question I have. This took me longer than I expected to just get the Duck stat. It's not very easy.
Because all teams experience a drop when they're leading.
Yes,
or
exactly.
At least historically.
Well, and I'm curious to see how all teams in the third period are. Are teams more open typically? Are they more closed off? That I'm not quite sure about, but you can at least see that the Ducks do fall off from an offensive standpoint in the third period typically.
Yeah, like we're not just making this up.
Yeah. So
there's numbers.
Yep. All right. So let's get into some questions. So per usual, we'll start with Discord. Lewis has something in here, so I will save that until the end of this podcast per usual. But Shake and Wing said, do the Ducks call up Zellweger this year after his WHL season? So I'll take this one quick. Issue there is Everett are very good. And so they are going to easily, it seems like, make the playoffs. And those playoffs start in April. And then if they end up winning the WHL playoffs, that would go until about May, and the Memorial Cup's in June. So that all has to his WHL season has to end for him to get any time in the AHL or NHL this year. So more likely than not, that's not going to happen. I foresee Everett, based upon how they're playing, to do really well in the WHL playoffs, and they're probably going to outlast the Ducks.
There you go.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's possible. Upsets happen. They could lose in the first round, and then he can go to the goals. It's possible. But it's not as if it's a, tried and true thing that the WHL season's going to end. Jeremy asks, if the Ducks trade Lindholm, Manson, and Raquel, or any combination of the three, that confirms a rebuild. My question is, with Gibson not wanting to rebuild, if those guys are traded, does he ask for a trade maybe in the offseason?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think that he saw what's possible this year, and there's still going to be the Ducks aren't just going to tank their entire team.
It's three players, and I think
right.
And I think Pat Verbeek probably understands this, and he's probably going to try to get back players that will help them.
Right, exactly. So I don't think so.
No, I don't either. Ken Pafu asks, assuming Manson waves, what do you think the Ducks get from Toronto for Manson plus Raquel, both half retained?
Oh, so both in the same trade?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a question for you. This is your moment.
Well, they both should get you at least a first. The issue is the Leafs don't have a first, right, this year?
Let's check.
I don't believe they have a first this season. And even if they do, it's a late first. I mean, I think that for sure gets you...
No, they do. They have all their firsts.
Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that you could potentially easily get Nick Robertson or Rodion Amirov out of there if you're giving them both of those guys.
I think that... Do you think, though, that it's as simple as just take whatever they would both get and then just add those two together? Or is it just the components individually get better? How does that work? So is it okay, so you would assume Manson gets a first, Raquel gets a first. Is it as simple as two firsts, or is it a first and then maybe a premium prospect plus a good prospect? Hopefully I'm making sense.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it's that. I think it's just a value perspective, right? I think it's just adding up both their values to that deal. I don't think it's a situation where it's a two for or the Ducks get more in return because they're giving them both. But I think that you are able to maybe get a more premium asset out of that. So maybe it's a second or a third in Nick Robertson. And you weren't going to necessarily get Nick Robertson for either of those guys by themselves without taking money back. So even though my deal earlier, that was kind of contingent upon taking Nick Ritchie back and things like that, which I think regardless, you're going to have to do if you're in a deal with the Leafs. So, I mean, that's also a part of it. So who knows? I'm not really quite sure. I don't know if Manson is necessarily going to waive for the Leafs.
Yeah, well, now he's going to waive for Edmonton, right?
Oh, yeah. That big news.
Dave Manson is on the coaching staff.
His dad's there. You would think that
Big
he would
move.
probably waive. He has what? Got a 10-team no-trade list.
Yeah.
It's a lot, actually.
Murray special.
Yeah. All right. Tenacious G85 asks, this is more an ice hockey for idiots guide for me. How much influence does does a GM have over head coach in terms of style of play, use of players, etc.? Will we see Verbeek put an end to some of the questionable use of players and their ice time playing for overtime, etc.? For me, they are head coach induced problems and assumed we would be stuck with them until Verbeek can bring in his person who has the same hockey philosophy.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that it is a bit situational. It depends on the GM and the coach, but I think that coaches are allowed to kind of coach for the most part. They're brought in to do that, and the GM is there to give them players to enact whatever vision that they have for the team. I do think that there is, of course, communication between the GM and the coach, of course, and on who to use, who's going, who's not going. But I think it's not quite as linear as, okay, now you have a new GM, now things are going to completely change. As we're seeing with the Ducks.
And I think the way to kind of look at this in some ways is most of the time the GMs are highly involved, right, in the process to hire a coach. And so you are hearing the coaches bid at essentially how they want to run the team, what type of style they want to play. And so that would mesh up with the GM's view on the game. We're in a weird situation where Verbeek has inherited a coach, and we don't know essentially if their views line up or if they don't. As for the lineups, I think that coaches and GMs have a lot of conversations, but I think the way the lineup is built is at the end of the day a coach's decision. A GM can have some influence with him, but I think you're right. They let him coach. Roster decisions are a coach's or are a GM decision. Waiving guys, things like that. And so I would imagine, though, if a coach is going to scratch a higher profile player, that's something that goes through the GM.
The GM gets involved, yeah.
Yeah. So there we go. So we got a couple questions from Twitter, so let's get to those. So let's hit this one first. This came from our good friend Tony, who has said, question for the pod. In spirit of Valentine's Day, who does Felix love more, Drysdale, Lundestrom, or Lindholm? And then in parentheses, he somehow hates them all.
Well, assuming it means like which player I think is the best or is going to be the best, I think it's pretty clearly Jamie Drysdale, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think Lindholm is probably, I mean, he has to be better than what he's shown this season. I think if you look at him historically, he's been better, but he is kind of starting to get a little bit past that prime or exiting it. And so and then Lundestrom is basically, like tops out as a third line center. So yeah, it's Jamie Drysdale. I don't think it's close.
By the way, Manson has a 12-team no-trade list. SJ Hawking put that in our Twitch chat, and he's right there. My bad. Trevor Zegras at Zegras Trevor asked, hey, Jake, 3 questions, 2 hockey, 1 personal. What would your mock trade for Chikrin be, and what would your mock trade for DeBrincat be? DeBrincat, I honestly have no idea. Chikrin, I would do Lundestrom, let's see. I would do Lundestrom, Perreault, and a first.
Okay.
Thoughts?
Okay. Pretty. I mean, that doesn't seem too bad for Jacob Chikrin. That seems like a good deal for the Ducks.
Yeah.
As much as I like Perreault.
I could be too soft, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it depends on the value perspective of Isaac Lundestrom, right?
Well, yeah, it depends how the Coyotes view these players individually.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, that would be a good trade for the Ducks.
Yep. And who do you want the Ducks to get the most this offseason, and who is the most realistic? I know Verbeek said in an interview that he will be active this offseason and get some good veterans on the young guys' lines. I don't honestly have a good idea. I think we're going to need to kind of see where things fall.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the biggest person to signing UFAs. So,
well, especially where the Ducks are at in their window.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're not quite there yet.
Yep. Final question: what is your guys' favorite flavor of ice cream?
Ooh, well, I've said this before, but Tillamook ice cream makes a flavor called chocolate mudslide. I think it's what it's called. It is amazing and addicting, and I need to cut back. But that is my favorite flavor. It's basically just chocolate on chocolate on chocolate.
I don't know if they still make it because I can't find it. But at one point in time, Tillamook made a Stumptown cold brew coffee or cold brew ice cream. It was so good.
Okay.
So, Daniel Jacobson.
Not your worst take.
Thanks. Daniel Jacobson said, question for the pod. Have not heard this asked since Verbeek hiring. Do you believe the Ducks will finally draft players from Russia? And then with Eichel's return Wednesday, do you think Verbeek would have pulled the trigger on an Eichel deal if he was the GM at the time?
Well, the Ducks have drafted Russians recently. Artem Galimov.
One.
Yeah,
that's it.
I was wondering why you were just holding up a finger there.
They've drafted one skater.
Well, okay, but
in the last 20
years. But this isn't recent history, though. I'm giving more weight to the recent history. But yeah, I would expect. I mean, if you look at the Russian contingents in Tampa Bay, and we've seen in Detroit, I would say that they'll just be more open. I mean, look, Bob Murray is Bob Murray, and he's gone. So I would expect them to be more open.
Yep. All right, so time for the Twitch chat. So for those of you on YouTube, yes, go to youtube.com/crashspawn where you can find us there. If you want to watch the video version of this podcast, see any of the charts, things like that, go there. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell to be notified when any of these videos go up. Or if you're listening on our favorite podcast service, you can find us each and every Monday night at 8 p.m. Yes, even on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
At 8 p.m. at twitch.tv/crashspawn, where you can help support this show. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free Twitch Prime Gaming sub each and every month, and it helps support the show more than you can imagine. You get free special emotes in the chat, a special banner next to your name, and it helps support the show more than you can imagine. You can be just like Lockdown Late Night, who resubscribed for 28 months and said, "Keep it strong, boys." We also had, and I'm just going to throw this out there to see if you can guess, Lewis resubbed. How many months do you think Lewis has been a sub of ours?
Gosh. 40-something?
41 months.
41. Okay. Nice. GOAT.
This is nearly 4 years.
Yeah. Yeah. We're ready to graduate.
Wow.
We're in our senior year. Hey, we can be super seniors, though.
There we go.
We can fail this year.
Yeah. The Ducks basically failed the last couple years.
Yeah, so we get a couple super senior years.
What are each of your predictions for the top 3 in the Pacific at the end of the year? Any Pacific team make a wild card or both from Central? That's from Austin Price 529.
Yeah, that's a fun one. I think Calgary wins the division.
I do too.
Yeah,
I think that
trade is so good for them.
Well, I think Vegas losing Mark Stone. I know a lot of people are gonna.
It almost cancels out Eichel, right?
Yeah, like people hand wring over it, saying, "Oh, of course they're just gonna get the LTI relief," and it's like, are you missing the fact that they're not gonna have Mark Stone now for the stretch run? Like, this is a very important player. This is a very good player, and I think a lot of people forget that aspect of it, that they're missing that player now for the rest of it. And sure.
But Jake, people are stupid. Come on, you know this.
Well, and sure, like, they're going to now get him for the playoffs if he doesn't make a return before then, and they're not going to be cap compliant and all that stuff. But it's like, whatever. Like, the players don't get paid in the playoffs. That's the whole purpose of it.
Yeah. No, I think Calgary wins out. I do think Vegas is going to be second, though.
Yeah.
I think that it seems pretty clear. I think the open question is third place, because to me it's a 2-horse race, and maybe this is Ducks fans are going to like hearing this, but I think it's between Edmonton and LA for third place.
Yeah, I think the Oilers take it.
Yeah, I don't have a ton of faith in the Kings to get third. So I would say that, especially with, at some point, you would think that the Evander Kane effect with the Oilers, I don't know, haven't kept up completely with them and how it's worked out, but you would imagine that that's going to be really big for them.
They're also just due for some positive regression.
Yeah, and so I would say Oilers in third. So Flames first, Knights second, and then the Oilers in third.
Yeah, and do you think any Pacific team gets a wild card spot?
Ooh, that is a trick question, because we have to reveal how we think about the Ducks. I think it's possible. Like, I don't think it's crazy. I said it recently in our Crash the Pond article that I think the Ducks are going to make it still.
Yeah. So there you go.
I'll just go with yes.
Yeah.
I'll go with yes.
Same. I'll do that also.
Yeah.
Why not?
It has to be the Ducks, though.
Yeah. Yep.
So anyway,
let's see. Austin Price also has honest question. Do you think the assistant coaches have the same feelings/strategies as Eakins, or just roll with his ideas?
I mean, I'm sure that they have a different mindset to some degree. It's not, because that's the whole point, right, of having assistant coaches, is that you have a different perspective to add to whatever the head coach thinks. But we don't know to what degree they clash or don't clash. So a little unanswerable there, but I would say that I'm sure that they might have some differences. I don't think that's crazy.
Oh, he also asked, are you still deaf in your right ear?
No, I actually figured out that it was my headphones and not my computer, thanks to a great friend of the show, Winterborn. And so,
did you buy new headphones?
No, these are just ones I already had.
Oh,
yeah. But so it's been a process to get.
You reset your entire computer, did a whole diagnostic thing to find out it was the headphones?
Look, I assume functional hardware. Is that a crazy assumption? Yeah, I reset all the drivers, did everything under the sun that's possible, and as it turned out, it was the headphones. Well, here's the thing, though. In my defense, and I think this actually exonerates me, is that so there was no sound coming out of my right headphone. Okay, you're with me so far? And so, but when I would change the audio from headphones to speakers, it would have the same issue. It wouldn't come out of the right channel. And so because of that, I assumed it wasn't the headphones. So it wasn't just like, I was just an idiot. And I assumed it could not be the headphones at all. So there was reason. There was reason for this. I'm exonerated. Yes.
Fine. Justin P. 1988 said, have you seen Olen Zellweger's numbers this year? We talked about him briefly, obviously. And will he play with the Ducks next year? So, have you seen his numbers lately? I looked at them today, actually, because I saw them.
I have not. How good are they, or how bad are they?
They are absolutely insane.
Okay.
I think he currently leads the WHL for points by defenseman.
Okay.
Let me see.
I'm going on Elite Prospects, which takes forever.
He has over
48 points in 35 games.
We should make this clear. Not only is he a defenseman, he was barely eligible for this draft.
Yeah. Yeah.
He turned, he's not even 6 months removed from turning 18.
Yeah. Martin Madden.
This guy is going to be great. I don't, for that same reason, I think he's going to have another year in the WHL, though. I think because of his age.
Yeah, he's just so young.
Yeah, he turns 19 next September. He's so young. Maybe moving Hampus Lindholm opens up the spot for him, but I don't see that being.
I mean, look at it this way, though. Look how they've handled Jamie Drysdale.
Yeah.
So...
Austin Price.
Zellweger is a left shot.
Yeah, and Austin Price, and some people have said this. Are you at all concerned? Are you saying, isn't this what Sam Steele did?
Nope.
Light up the WHL. And so Sam Steele did light up the WHL. I'm just going to say this, in his D+1 year at 131 points in 66 games. But he also was not in the same situation as Zellweger because is a February birthday. It's a little bit different in terms of age. I think that's part of what makes Zellweger so fascinating is his age and what he's able to do.
Exactly. It's the age difference. It's yeah, I tweeted about the Sam Steele stats because of Connor Bedard, and people took it as me saying that Connor Bedard isn't good. No, it's about the age difference. It's about the fact that Zellweger is so young and that he's doing this.
Zellweger right now is Zellweger from the draft and everything like that is over 6 months younger than Sam Steele.
That matters.
He's 7 months younger than Sam Steele would have been in that same D+1.
Historically, that matters.
Yes.
So it's not the same.
Nope. So absolutely impressive, though, what he's doing. Why not give him a shot to start the year? I don't know if I would necessarily bank on him being on the team.
No,
I don't think that you trade. I don't think you trade Lindholm, assuming that Zellweger's gonna jump right in. But
no, I think he should play in the NHL next season. Let's just see it.
Yeah,
see it for the amount of games that you can allow him to, and go from there. But do not rush him, a la Drysdale.
Yep. All right, it's that time, Felix. Lewis,
what does this mean?
Lewis asked. Let me find it again. Thoughts on Midway, British Columbia?
Oh God.
Midway, British Columbia.
Why?
This has now become something that people actually mention in our reviews.
I have a theory on this, by the way.
Midway. I have this open now. This is on the border.
So my theory is that ever since we've been doing this, I think people enjoy this because we've been getting more reviews than we've ever been getting. I think people enjoy the shit show portion of the show.
There is Fritz Road hiking and biking.
Yeah, Lewis, this is I'll just say this. It's not our traditional look. It's we go for very northern, very remote. This is remote. It's certainly not close to anything important. But yeah, I don't know. It's right on the border of British Columbia and Washington.
Technically, there's an airstrip.
Keg and Kettle Grill, though.
There's a museum. Kettle River Museum. There's a museum. I think that tells you all you need to know. This is
This is a metropolis.
This is a big city, Lou. I don't know what you're talking about here. There's a cheese wheel in the museum.
Look, all you need to know about this museum is from Haley McCleary. This is too long. I'm not gonna be able to get through it. Let's try this one from Nina Pham. We value these museums, and the $5 admission is worth it in order to help preserve and keep these places running. It was nice getting to check out the inside of the train, as well as the former train station. Wow, I like this. Very informative and enlightening, according to Greg Poirier. So I guess this is like a train town. Wow. Would have never guessed.
There's also the King of Kings church. Is this where Triple H was born?
By the way, did you like The Rock at the Super Bowl?
Sure. Yeah.
I thought it was cringeworthy.
Wrestling.
The Rock is
Wrestling invasion.
It's past due. Yeah, I mean, no, Midway's not doing it for me.
No, if anyone else wants to throw in another
random city,
yeah. Go for it. But I'm gonna get to the take, and we'll come back to a different city. Food. Okay. Let me find the last food.
Yeah.
Take.
So just so people know where Jake is getting this from, this is our patrons only Discord chat, which is a lot of fun, and we'll get into at the end of the show how you can join it. But we have a food channel within the server. And, oh, boy, there are some takes in there. There are certainly some takes in there.
I feel like the last, actual take is yours.
Jake, you had a good one with the chips, the Hawaiian.
Oh, yeah. Have you never had those before?
No, I have had them, and that's why I think it's a good take. The Luau Barbecue Hawaiian brand kettle-style potato chips. They are delicious.
Yeah.
Like too delicious.
Sweet and spicy. They're perfect.
Yeah, you like my take though? My recent take?
So yeah, this is your take is the last one. Lou, if you want to throw a take,
I'm so honored.
Lou, if you want to post a take in there, Mike, I see some people in our Twitch chat in Discord. If you want to overtake this and put something new in there so I can kind of not have to do this one.
I think I have a great recent take.
It's honestly fine. I don't know. It's weird. Black pepper is a very underrated seasoning. Discuss.
It's just so bad.
Like what?
But you like my comment before that though? This is my new thing. I just update everyone.
No.
Okay.
You don't update anyone. You would say theory or huge take and then don't say anything ever. So when you say this is my new thing to say here is a take and then say black pepper is a very underrated seasoning is not your normal decision.
I'm dying. No, here's the thing on black pepper though.
Oh, Lou came in, thankfully, with an awful take. Or with a take.
Good freshly cracked black pepper. I think maybe it's just because I just started using it more, but I think it's underrated. Adds a little heat. It's needed.
All right. Lewis said Alfredo sauce is the worst.
Okay. I will say that there's a lot of bad Alfredo out there.
I'm just not going to comment because I never have ordered Alfredo sauce.
Well, just again, for the record, Jake hates avocado, eggs, and what's the other one? What's the third one? Oh, you're getting out easy if I don't remember this. Eggs, avocado, and it's a fat. It's like a. Anyway, I'll remember it. But yeah, Jake has some bad food takes.
I mean, these aren't takes. They're just things I don't like.
People harp on me, but let it be known.
Here's the thing.
Let it be known.
I don't say they're awful and all these things. I just say I don't like them. It's something you can be civil.
I mean, I don't know. Does that make it any better though? Oh yeah, you don't like fish.
Yeah,
that's a bad one. I don't think you can defend that one.
I don't know. What? I mean, I don't need to defend anything. It's just how I feel.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. That's well and good that you have this kind of Zen view of it all. But I think that if you're going to have these opinions about things that most people love, you should be able to back it up. And instead, you're just hand waving it away, and that's disgusting.
All right, I found one. I found a city.
Okay. Hit me.
Blind Bay.
Ooh. Okay.
Blind Bay.
It's in British Columbia.
Yes.
Oh boy, where is this?
Lakeside Suite and Rentals, Blind Bay Vacation Rental.
This actually looks kind of nice.
Yeah, let's see. Oh, we were also told that I guess that place in Nova Scotia is really nice.
Yeah. Well, okay, so Blind Bay. Wow, this is actually kind of nice. There's a big lake, close to Salmon Arm. and Turtle Valley. So this is a big area. I don't know. I'm intrigued. I want to go here.
Okay. I'm not gonna fight you on that. You can go.
I mean, I'm going Street View. I'm going in to see.
There's a car wash. Oh, there's Our Lady of the Lake Catholic Church.
Yeah, you can go get some prayer in. There's the Salah Retreat Bed and Breakfast. Ooh. Okay.
Oh, there's Pebble Beach. This is where that golf course is at.
Yeah, there's also a Carmel Beach. Like, are they just copying California?
Yeah. Thanks for not even selling my bit. Thanks.
I don't get it.
Pebble Beach is a well-renowned golf course.
Well, yeah, I know.
Okay.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, there's also a Carmel Beach.
Oh, got it.
You don't even understand your own bit. I like that there's a Finn's Resort / Finn's Bar and Grill, and it's a Finn's with a Z.
My kind of place.
Super edgy, I guess. 4.4 out of 5 though. I'm not thrilled about that. Oh man, Country Life Girl coming in strong. A 2 out of 5. Oh Lord, and this is just a month ago. I'm gonna read this word for word. I ate there twice last summer. The first time, the service was excellent. The server was really good, but the food was just average, nothing special, and overpriced. The second time, the service was really bad. The girl was snotty and rushing us like we were imposing on her. She took a long time to take a drink order, and they tasted like they were watered down. She took so long to give us our drinks that we decided not to order appetizers. So she lost out on another $50 in sales. The $20 burger bun was stale. I can get a better burger at McDonald's. The server had lighter... Oh, God, this is getting bad. The server had light hair and 2 piercings in her chest. Avoid her at all costs. Not impressed at all. This is an overpriced tourist trap. The view is the only good thing this place has.
Oh,
I just want to say this. Shout out to the server. Services industry is hard. You get some bad apples every now and again. But yeah, just be careful if you're going to Finn's Resort.
There's a little fountain.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Oh, I just realized no one can see my screen. Look at this. Look at this fountain and this lake.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm in.
I mean, it's probably not that nice right now, but you know.
Yeah, is it frozen? No, British Columbia doesn't get that cold, I don't think.
I mean, I don't know.
Do I need to find a city? I feel like you let us down a little bit here.
Wow. Let down?
Yeah, I'll say it. Let's see. Now I feel the pressure, though. I don't like this. Oh, boy. Bay James, Quebec. I think it's just a bay.
I don't think we've ever done Quebec.
Yeah, what's up with that, huh?
Blame Lewis.
What's up with that, huh?
Blame Lewis.
What's up with that, huh? Yeah, let's go to Matagami. Yeah, this is the Matagami mine. This is very, very northern. Oh my.
You know, I'm going to go to a place I visited.
In
the U.S.
Wow, you're ditching Canada.
I'm going to go with
like that.
Bar Harbor because it's a beautiful town, and I enjoyed my time there.
What? This is anti everything we've ever stood for with this bit.
No, Jay Stone. It doesn't have to be. Let's just take a quick little stroll through Bar Harbor because it's a little town.
Yeah, I like this actually.
Yeah.
Wow. You know, I love the state of Maine. I've only been once, but it's really beautiful.
I visited here on my trip.
Wow. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah.
It must have gotten lost in the mail.
Is this allowed, something. Lewis? It's my podcast. I can figure out what I want to do.
Wow, we've got a good random European city apparently.
Kosovo? Oh, this is just
Kosovo. That's not random.
No, that's city.
That's the capital. Well, isn't that a country? Isn't Kosovo a country?
I don't know.
Kosovo is definitely a country. It's 1,000%.
Yeah, it's a country.
Yeah, that's poor form.
J.J. Stone lived there for a year.
Really?
Yeah.
People, what? Okay, now I have questions. But anyway,
I think
we might need to move.
Yeah,
we might need to move on here.
Yep.
Okay. Well, if you've been enjoying this show, we're gonna wrap up. Did you have anything else you wanted to say, Jake?
Nope.
Maybe any Super Bowl thoughts?
Nope. I got none.
I thought it was a terrible game.
You're just mad.
I guess congrats to the Rams for beating a team that didn't deserve to be there. Halftime show was cool, but not the greatest halftime show of all time. And yeah, that's all I've got to say. So, if you've enjoyed what you've heard today, if you've been enjoying our podcast, there's a few ways to support us, and they are all very appreciated. The number one way, and the one that I think will bring the most benefit to you, is to check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/crashthepond. And if you pledge $1 a month, $1, you get access to our patrons-only Discord server, which is just so much fun. It's a thriving community of Ducks fans, of hardcore fans, of people that are just there to have a good time, to bond, to make jokes, to talk about food, to talk about the team, to talk about whatever is popping into their heads. And I got to say, it's just my favorite place to talk about hockey anywhere right now. Sorry, Jake, that includes this podcast. So that's for $1 a month. Now, for $5 a month, you get access to the server, but you also get access to 2 bonus episodes a month. And so that's where Jake and I will go more in depth into league-wide topics, doing rankings, picking our awards winners. It's a lot of fun, and it's a little more unfiltered as well. And now, if you really love this show, if you just want to see it continue to grow, continue to thrive, you can do that for $15 a month. We will greatly, greatly appreciate it. But maybe the highlight for today, though, an easy way to support us that doesn't include any money for you needing to spend. You can leave us a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. Now, we've got 2 today. 2. This is big. I'll start with this one. This one is from Jack D. And this is great. Love the title. It's a 5-star review. Leafs Rapids #1 podcast. Great show. Great analytics. Always look forward to new episodes. P.S. The best of each show is always in the last 20 minutes of it. So, by the way, thank you so much, Jack D. That is hilarious. Leafs Rapids. Is that the first city that we covered on the show?
No.
Okay.
I don't remember the first. That was like last episode was Leaf Rapids.
Was it? Oh, Leaf Rapids. Why did I say Leafs Rapids? Yeah. But anyway, I'm glad that that's resonating with people. The randomness at the end. And then this review from Zegras is a goat. The title, a 5-star review, says, "I listen and I still don't fully know why." Here goes the review.
Flin Flon was the first.
Yes, that sounds correct. "I'm not fully convinced either of the guys know very much about hockey." Okay. But something keeps me coming back every week. Things go off the rails quite frequently. One host hates eggs. The other hates Swedish hockey players. So, IDK, 5 out of 5. I'll listen again, and I won't know why. Well, Zegras is a goat. I know that Jake hates Swedish hockey players, but we're trying here.
You hate eggs?
No. I'm just saying, like, we're trying here. We're trying here. Jake doesn't like the Swedes and doesn't like eggs. It's hard. I get it. But anyway, thank you guys. I appreciate it. We appreciate it. It just gives us a good laugh, if nothing else. So if you want to leave us a rating and a review, we will absolutely read it on the show. Just search Crash the Pond on Apple Podcasts. You can also find us on Spotify. Leave us a rating there. Find us on YouTube, youtube.com/crashthepond. You get the video version of the show. Make sure to subscribe there and turn on your notifications. Check out our website, crashthepond.com. If you want some merch, if you want some hoodies, t-shirts with our beautiful logo, crashthepond.com/shop, at Crash the Pond on Twitter and on Facebook. Jake is on Twitter at ReindeerGames91, and I'm on Twitter at Felix_Sicard. That is going to do it for us tonight, guys. Thank you for listening. Hope you had a great Valentine's Day, and we'll talk to you in a week. Have a good one.
Bye!